Night. All right, please make sure to keep the deep state in your thoughts tonight. Well, Joe Biden's State Department reportedly they had a therapy session. Why? To help government workers cope with the election results and Donald Trump's big win. I'm sure emotions are running very high. I'm sure they're going to bring in comfort animals any day now. But tonight, we end the week with more good news for Donald Trump. The lawfare against the president-elect in New York has officially fallen apart. Earlier today, Judge Juan Merchan canceled Donald Trump's sentencing, granted his request to proceed with a motion to dismiss all charges, which they should have done, and they never should have been brought in the first place. Anyway, while Trump appears to be in the clear, you just never know, though, with this judge and DA Bragg. You don't know. Now, coming up, we're going to show you how New York's politicized and weaponized system of justice is putting everybody in danger. But we begin with something very interesting you might not have noticed after the election. All across the country, there were many devout Democrats who were not just angry that Donald Trump won, they were also in a complete state of shock. Many totally, completely blindsided by Donald Trump's resounding win in both the Electoral College and the popular vote. Now, despite the disastrous last 4 years, the terrible approval numbers of Kamala and Joe, a wave of polls, we had pollsters on regularly in favor of Donald Trump. The Democrats, what, they didn't see it coming? The legacy media didn't see it coming? Probably because the primary source of news is legacy media. Where, look, I said in 2007, journalism in America is dead. It's been dead and buried, with a few exceptions like Fox News for some time. And it's become a far-left echo chamber. That is what has emerged. Political hacks at the AP, Reuters, nearly every single major newspaper, New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, USA Today, you know, the other two cable news outlets all repeat the same Democratic talking points day in and day out. Most Americans, including most of you watching tonight, you have known this for years. And most Americans now have tuned out the noise. Now people have choices. First, they had talk radio, Fox News. Now they have social media. Then they have podcasting. They are very selective in where they're getting their information. Democrats, they just have their heads in the sand. Legacy media is refusing to change course. Even as their numbers decline, their influence is totally evaporated. Now, take a look at this headline published just yesterday. This on MSDNC, quote, this makes me so angry. Laken Riley's killer never stood a chance. The guy was caught red-handed, a young nursing student with her whole life ahead of her. And he was out stalking, looking for somebody to rape. He murdered this young nursing student, her whole life ahead of her, brutally murdered by a Harris Biden unvetted illegal. He deserves the death penalty, not just life in jail. But that article seemed to blame, quote, political controversy for his conviction. No, it was the act of murder that convicted him. The brutal, evil, senseless act of murder. The only political controversy here is that this criminal lowlife was even inside of our country to begin with, invited by Joe Biden, in his own words, across wide open borders to our south. Kamala and Joe, no vetting, 12.5 million unvetted Harris Biden illegals. How is it possible to become that detached from reality that you'd publish a headline like that? Why do liberals, why do these extremists put so-called rights for illegals, which they don't have, over your safety and your security? According to a study from the Media Research Center, during their primetime shows, MSDNC, they didn't spend a single second on the Laken Riley trial. Not a second. You know, meanwhile, fake news CNN, they barely covered it at all. Quote, between the morning of November the 15th, when the trial started, and Wednesday, November 20th, 2 p.m., when Jose Ibarra was ultimately sentenced, fake news, CNN, and MSNBC's primetime coverage of the case amounted to a single 161-second news brief on the Monday night edition of CNN's Laura Coates. I guess we should tip our hat to whoever she is. Illegal immigration violent crime were two of the top issues in this election, according to almost every poll. And yet, these so-called cable news outlets, networks, completely ignored a major story during their primetime coverage. But by the way, they've been ignoring illegal immigration for 4 years. They went along with the big lie. Oh, the border's secure, the border's secure, the border's closed. No, it wasn't. We here at Fox told the country the truth. They didn't. They didn't focus on high prices, inflation, the bad economy. They didn't focus on higher gas prices. They're not looking out for all of you. And that's why people are leaving them in droves. And it gets worse. The big three networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, they dedicated about 4 times more coverage to an insult comics dumb joke about Puerto Rico 3 hours before Donald Trump ever got on stage at a Trump rally at Madison Square Garden than the Laken Riley murder trial. Apparently for ABC, CBS, and NBC, a bad joke from a comedian, and I'll grant you he probably shouldn't have been there, definitely. All right, they're saying that's more newsworthy than the murder of a young woman, nursing student by the name of Laken Riley at the hands of an unvetted Harris Biden illegal immigrant. By the way, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of dead Americans. We have dozens and dozens of Americans, including children that have been raped. We have thousands of Americans victims of violent crime because of Harris Biden unvetted illegals. This is why their far-left viewers were in total shock when Fox News projected that Donald Trump is the 47th president of this country. The legacy media has done nothing but lie and cover for the Democratic Party, and now they have no influence. And while they aren't particularly outraged that young women have been murdered and a lot of people raped and other people victims of violent crimes by these illegal immigrants, they are so deeply troubled by Donald Trump's political appointments. That gets them triggered. And that's not all. The legacy media also thinks it is dangerous to celebrate Donald Trump's huge win. Look at this headline from Politico, quote, calling Trump's win resounding isn't just wrong, it's risky. What's risky about it? Just so we are clear, the state-run legacy media mob allowing more than, what, 10, 11, 12 and a half million? We don't know the exact number. We don't know how many gotaways. But all of these people coming into our country from over 180 countries, including countries with terror ties, our top geopolitical foes, but daring to call Trump's historic win resounding is risky? This legacy state-run media mob can and will never, ever be trusted again. They will never have influence ever again. And that goes for celebrity endorsements. They are completely, utterly meaningless. Sorry, Bruce Springsteen. Sorry, George Clooney. You could still be a real man and vote for, quietly. Just don't tell your friends. George Clooney, really? Julia Roberts, you can tell your husband you voted for Trump, but really, he won't know. You can lie to your husband. Howard Stern, what happened to you, Howard? You're not the same person. Taylor Swift, John Bon Jovi, the fear, the panic, the fear-mongering, the lying, hysteria, zero impact. None of them. Now, outside of the echo chamber, nobody cares what they have to say. So-called journalists only have themselves to blame. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.